You want to know what happened to me in the catacombs? People always ask in that same half-amused, half-disbelieving tone, as if they expect me to smirk and admit it was all exaggeration, all tourist hysteria, all myth. But whenever they ask, I don't respond right away. I just stare at them, the way I'm staring at you now, and try to decide whether you're ready to know what I saw in those tunnels. What I heard. What followed me. What still follows me. Because I didn't go down there for thrill, or curiosity, or TikTok clout like the rest of them. I went down there to find someone. And I came back with something else. You want the story? Fine. But when I'm done, don't tell me you weren't warned. Some places don't want to be remembered. Some places remember you back. The Catacombs of Paris is one of them. The reason I went below. My younger brother, Adam, disappeared 6 months before I ever set foot in Paris. He wasn't the adventurous type. He wasn't the sort to hitchhike or wander off or go find himself. He was quiet. Introverted. Obsessed with history, especially morbid history, plagues, ossuaries, charnel houses, mass graves, burial rituals. Bones didn't scare him. He said bones were the only honest part of a human being. That's why the catacombs fascinated him. He talked about them constantly. Sent me links, videos, maps. And then one night, at 3:14 a.m., he sent the last message he would ever send. I think I found a passage nobody knows about. I can hear them. It's so dark down here. That was it. He never came back out. French authorities claimed there was no record of Adam entering the official catacombs. They brushed me off, treating him like just another tourist idiot who thought he could explore the forbidden tunnels beneath the city. They warned me the network stretched for hundreds of miles, a stone labyrinth with no light, no consistent maps, and no air circulation in some sections. They told me bodies down there don't always rot. They just wait. I didn't care. I had to find him. The descent. The entrance I used wasn't legal. Of course it wasn't. A contact, a Parisian urban explorer named Luc, agreed to guide me. He charged me €200 and 3 bottles of cheap whiskey. Said he'd take me only to demarcated sections, nothing deep. Nothing dangerous. He lied. Midnight in a forgotten corner near the 14th arrondissement, behind a rusted gate, down a concrete shaft covered in moss and graffiti, I followed Luke as he climbed through a hole carved into the wall. Immediately, the air changed. Cold, still, unmoving. The smell, dust, minerals, and that sour undertone of old dampness, like a basement that has never been dry in its entire life. Our light shook across a low ceiling of limestone. The passage narrowed until we had to crouch, then crawl. My clothes scraped against rock. Pebbles skittered into the dark. Luke muttered, "Welcome to the Empire of the Dead." I tried to ask him how many people get lost down here each year. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence said everything. The tunnel spat us out into a larger gallery. And there they were. The bones. Millions of them, arranged with unsettling precision into walls of skulls and femurs. Stack after stack. Endless white faces staring blankly from the stone. Their empty sockets reflected our flashlight beams like tiny mirrors. The air tasted heavier here, old, almost metallic. Luke walked ahead casually, as if dead eyes weren't tracking him from every angle. But I felt them. A pressure behind my forehead. Like I was being watched from both sides at once. "Don't stare at the piles too long," Luke said without turning around. "You'll start thinking you see them blink." He laughed. I didn't. Because the longer I stared, the more I could swear some heads were angled differently. Some seemed new. Placed recently. And then I noticed a gap in one wall of skulls, a triangular absence, like something had pushed its way out from the inside. Adam's last message echoed in my mind. I can hear them. I shivered. But we kept going. It started when Luke took me off the tourist path. There's an old section ahead. Abandoned. Nobody goes there, he said. Which meant, of course, that Adam might have gone there. The air grew colder. My breath fogged. My flashlight dimmed, flickering once, twice. And then I heard it. A whisper. Soft. Close. Right behind my ear. A voice with no breath. Turn back. I spun around so fast my wrist cracked. My light beam slashed across the bones, the walls, the ceiling, nothing. Just miles of stone swallowing the sound. I tried to speak but my throat tightened. I felt cold fingers of panic reaching upward from inside my chest. Luke didn't notice anything. He was still walking. Still humming. So I followed. We crawled through a narrow chute that scraped layers of skin from my palms. Eventually the rock angled sharply downward. The floor turned wet, slick with blackish water. My boots splashed quietly. The air felt wrong down here. Thicker. Heavier. Harder to breathe. I kept imagining the weight of Paris above us, buildings, cars, streets, millions of people living their lives just meters away, unaware of the dark grid beneath their feet. Unaware that if you go deep enough, there are places where even sound stops. We moved deeper. My ears popped as if the pressure were shifting. Something dripped steadily in the distance. Drip. 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 Luke stopped at a fissure in the wall, an opening barely wide enough for a body to squeeze through. "This is where I leave you," he said. "What?" "I don't go farther than this." "Not anymore." "What do you mean anymore?" He didn't answer. He wouldn't even look at me. Instead, he pressed a crumpled piece of paper into my hand, a map sketched in pencil, shaky and faint. "Good luck," he whispered. And then he turned his light off and disappeared down the tunnel behind us, leaving me alone with that breathing darkness. I stared at the map. The routes were unlabeled. Tunnels zigzagged with no clear consistency. Several parts were rubbed out. And near the bottom of the page, scrawled in a different handwriting, were 3 words. My stomach dropped. But if Adam went down here, I had to. So I crawled into the fissure. The darkness changes. The moment I squeezed through, the darkness felt different. It felt alive. My flashlight beam caught rails on the floor, old mining tracks, rusted and half buried in silt. The ceiling stretched upward into an arched chamber blacker than anything I'd seen. Every footstep echoed too long, too distorted, as if something far away was walking in time with me. I moved carefully along the tracks, map trembling in one hand, flashlight in the other. At one point, I found a pile of equipment on the ground, collapsed tripods, cracked GoPros, a shredded backpack. But no people. Only claw marks gouged into the stone. Claw marks. Deep ones. Like something had been dragged. I crouched, ran a finger along the grooves. Not animal. Not human. Something else. I should have turned back. But then I found it. A boot. A familiar black hiking boot. Adam's. Mud-stained. Craped. One lace missing. I picked it up. And the moment I did, I heard him. The voice. Hello? It was faint. Muffled. Echoing from somewhere deeper in the belly of the catacombs. Hello? Can you hear me? It was Adam's voice. His exact voice. I'd know it anywhere. I dropped the boot and sprinted. My light bobbed wildly across walls carved with names, dates, warnings. The air thinned. My lungs burned. But all I cared about was the sound of my brother calling for help. Keep going. I ran. Slipped. Fell. Got back up. The tunnel narrowed until I had to crawl again. Rocks scraped my spine. My knees bled. But I heard him again, closer this time. In here. I crawled faster. Desperate. But when I reached the next chamber, the voice changed. Lower. Wrong. Throaty. In here. My blood froze. That wasn't Adam. That wasn't even human. I lifted my light and saw them. The chamber was enormous. Round. A dome of black rock supported by pillars made of stacked bones. At first, I thought the piles were just still life architecture, an ossuary arrangement like any other. Until one of the skulls twitched. Just slightly. Then another turned. Then another. Then all of them, thousands of skulls, shifted noiselessly to face me. I couldn't breathe. Their jaws hung open. Their hollow sockets widened. Dust shook free like falling snow. And deep within that forest of bone pillars, I saw movement. Something stepping forward. Something tall. Not a person. Not an animal. A shape made entirely of bones. A ribcage twisted into arms. A spine split into legs. A skull fused into a long, colorless face. And inside its chest cavity, a second skull. Human. Intact. Fresh. Adam's skull. I knew it instantly. Don't run, it rasped. But I did. The labyrinth. I sprinted back into the tunnels, lungs ripping for air. The darkness wasn't empty anymore. It felt packed with movement, faint shuffling, scraping, the dry rustle of bone sliding over stone. I didn't know where I was going. Left. Right. Down. Through. Crawling. Clawing. Blind. My flashlight flickered violently. Behind me, something was following. Something fast despite the uneven steps. Something scraping the ceiling, the walls, the floor. I could hear the bones clicking together with every movement. Clack. Clack. Clack clack. I stumbled into a new tunnel, narrower, lower, spiral-shaped. I ducked under hanging rocks and followed the spiraling path downward until I realized something horrifying. I wasn't going deeper. I was going in circles. Every tunnel looked identical. Every wall was lined with the exact same pattern of skulls and femurs. And the tracks I left in the dust kept overlapping. I was trapped inside a loop. Something was changing the tunnels. Something was rearranging them around me. And then, as my flashlight died completely, I heard Adam's voice once more. Close. Too close. Come back. I can't move without you. Except the voice wasn't behind me. It was inside my left ear. I screamed. Without light, I crawled forward blindly, hands shaking against damp limestone. Every sound became a warning. Every shift of air felt like a breath on my neck. I felt a cavern opening in front of me, huge and hollow. My hands found no wall. Only empty space. A void. I slid down a slope, tumbling, rolling, hitting stones and bone fragments until I dropped into something softer. Not water. Not mud. Bones. Thousands of loose bones, a sea of them, at least a meter deep. Skulls rolled beneath my palms. Femurs clattered like hollow wind chimes. My fingers sank into empty eye sockets. I scrambled upward, bones avalanching around me. Each clack echoed like laughter. In the darkness behind me, the creature entered the pit. I felt it more than I heard it, the vibration of its limbs shifting, bone over bone, configuration constantly changing shape. I could feel its heat. Its breath. But then, salvation. A faint glimmer. A pinpoint of light above. A small hole in the ceiling created by some collapse ages ago. Daylight. Real daylight. I climbed. Bones slid under my grip. Skulls tumbled. My fingers bled. But I clawed upward toward that dim circle. Below, the creature growled, a sound like stone grinding in a coffin. The bones beneath me began to ripple. To move. To pull me down. Hands made of knuckle bones latched around my ankles. Femurs wrapped around my boots like serpents. Skulls pressed upward trying to wedge between my fingers. No, I whispered. No, no, no. I kicked. Scraped. Clawed. The light grew closer. With a final lunge, I grabbed the jagged edge of the opening and hauled myself through. I collapsed on cold pavement. Night air. Real air. I was outside. In some abandoned courtyard behind a schoolyard. Alive. And when I looked back into the hole, the bones underneath shifted away from the light like insects scattering from flame. I never saw the creature's full form again. Only a hand, made of ribs and vertebrae, reaching up, as if waving goodbye. Then it vanished. The police didn't believe me. Of course they didn't. They chalked up the injuries to tunnel collapse. They said I hallucinated from dehydration, panic, oxygen deprivation. They confiscated the map. They told me never to speak of it publicly. They didn't even bother searching for Adam. Because no one goes down that deep. And no one comes back if they do. I spent months in therapy. Night terrors. Sleep paralysis. A constant ringing in the ear where the voice whispered. But I survived. I shouldn't have. But I did. And sometimes, late at night, I hear something tapping under my apartment floor. Slowly. Steadily. Ritualistically. Clack. Clack. Clack clack. Like bones trying to rearrange themselves into the shape of something familiar. Sometimes I hear my brother's voice, too. Soft. Broken. Begging. Come back. I can't move without you. And I know what the catacombs really are now. Not a burial site. Not a monument. Not history. They're a mouth. A living, endless mouth. And I am the piece it let escape. Maybe to spread the word. Maybe to lure others. Maybe because the maze beneath Paris wants to expand. Wants to grow. Wants more bones. Your bones. So if you ever go to Paris, if you ever get tempted to explore beneath the city, if you ever hear a voice calling your name from the dark, don't answer. Because it's not who you think. And the catacombs don't give back what they take. Not really. I survived, yes. But the part of me that came out isn't the part that went in. And something down there still knows my name.